So, what's your question about the time, talent, and treasure?
You gave the example of Jesus giving his life,
Mm-hmm.
that basically being the end all be all of
Mm-hmm.
what it means to have love for someone and love for the human
Right.
race in general. So that's giving love, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
love can be given in other ways that aren't intrinsically tied to
Okay.
my funds. So at
Oh,
what point?
okay.
So at what point do I start that investment into giving if I'm supposed to be giving money first and foremost?
So, you should always be. Oh, sorry, did I? I didn't mean to cut you off
Yeah,
there.
no, it's basically like I need to be giving money first and foremost, so I'm gonna wait until then, and then I have to. That's money that I can be spending
Mm-hmm.
on the business, so I can make more money to tithe.
Sure.
So
So, if you have money, you should give money. If you don't have money, you have to give what you have. Because so three things: time, talent, and treasure. So, um, if you think about it like this, from the perspective of the way that God is going to look at this, He's commanding you to give your money first because that's the hardest for you. What we don't understand until we begin to give our money is that the time commitment is actually the hardest. In your mind right now, if I tell you, hey, will you come over here and hang out with me for an hour? You're more likely to do that. But then if I say, hey, can you give me $1,000? You're less likely to do that. But the problem is that the money is not the thing that's finite. Money is infinite. You can always make money. Like you could literally go broke right now, be living outside under the bridge over here, and then in less than a week be a millionaire if you make the right moves. But time wise, you can't get time back. So from the perspective of giving your time, I mean, it's monumental because if you give somebody an hour of your time, you will never see that hour again. So it has to be well spent. And as an entrepreneur, you only have so many hours in the day. And if you're going to think about it like this, just talking about for me, it takes me time to make these videos, right? Well, I have a whole other job that I could be doing instead of making these videos, but for me, this is important because I feel like this is what God's called me to do. So I make the videos, and that takes up the time. I would much rather just say, hey guys, let me just hand y'all $100 and hope you do well in your business. That's easier for me to do at this point. But it's easier for me to do because I've given my money so much of the time. Do you see what I'm saying? No pun intended there. But here's the other thing, and this is the next thing that makes it even more difficult, is giving your talent. So most people will easily give their talent away because in their mind they're giving it to a greater good, they're giving it to help somebody else do something, they're giving it because they're getting something in return. But if you have an opportunity to give your talent away, you should give it away just because you want to help somebody else. So I'm gonna give you a case in point. So a few years ago, I was working on trying to grow the organization, and I had lost everything, and I started over, and I was rebuilding. As I was rebuilding, I had a web developer programmer. I don't even know what to call him, but he's developer programmer, and he's very gifted and very talented. And everything's going along great. He gets paid every 2 weeks. Things are just moving and shaking, and we begin to grow the business. And one day, I feel like God's really leading me to go volunteer my time somewhere. Now, mind you, I am not the volunteer type. I'm just not. I don't really like to go do that. Just to be real with you, it's not because I don't want to, because I do want to, but I just don't want to. Do you know what I mean? So, anyways, I was like, okay, well, I got to find a place where I can volunteer because I feel like this is what God's called me to do. So I go and volunteer at this food pantry, and they say, hey, listen, we need help doing this, running this pantry, and we're going to pay you to do it. And I say, I don't really feel like I'm supposed to be getting paid for this, so I'm just going to say no to the money, and I'll volunteer my time. And so I volunteered, and it was great. I learned a lot about being patient with people. I learned a lot about how to help people. I mean, it was a really great time for me. But as if that were not enough, in my organization, I volunteered there for a year. In my organization, over the course of the year, things started really picking up, and we started having to hire more people. Well, as we were hiring more people, more money was not also coming in. So I was like, oh gosh, this is getting real. So I go to this web developer that I'm working with and I say, hey man, can I cut your salary? Because I kind of need more free cash so I can hire some of these other people. So he said, well, help me understand what's going on here. So I explained to him the whole situation about where the business is, what we're trying to do, where we're trying to go. And he says, you know what? You don't have to pay me. And he went for a year without any money from me. And he kept working just as hard. So I look at that and say, that's incredible, because just a year earlier, I donated my time for free to an organization that needed my help for a year. And I'm not saying this is going to happen like this for everybody or happen like this every time, but the reality for me was I donated my time for a year, and then after that time was up for a year, somebody donated their time to me. So that was pretty significant to me. But it wasn't just his time, it was his talent. That was huge. So I would say to anybody that struggles with the concept of giving, if you don't have money to give for whatever reason, give your time and your talent. Those are equally as effective. The thing is, though, your heart changes at the money. So, yeah. You have another question, Rosie?
No, I think that is going to be the perfect segue into a more detailed, in-depth look at time, talent, and treasure. Specifically, everyone has infinite amounts of money, or potentially. We have finite amount of time. Mm-hmm. That's across the board.
Yep.
That's not something that people have a hard time identifying with themselves. Mm-hmm. How, as an entrepreneur, do you go about finding and identifying your personal talent and what's your treasure to offer to other people? So that'll be in the next video. Look forward to it.
Okay. Rosie says we're done. See y'all later.